As Nigeria continues its efforts to wipe out insurgency in the country, it is also mindful of its obligations in the protection of the fundamental human rights of persons in the areas of operations. This was the assurance given by the President while addressing a special session of the European Union Parliament in Strasbourg, France, adding that his government shares the EU's commitment to peace and security and respect for human rights. President Muhammadu Buhari also spoke of Nigeria's concerns about the Economic Partnership Agreement amongst the EU, Africa, Caribbean and Pacific Group of States, ACP. He says, quote, giving due consideration to the mismatch of the two regions, that's Europe and ECOWAS, in terms of technology and manufacturing experience, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and associated trade unions raised concerns over the negative impact of the agreement on Nigeria's industrialization program. The president is also asking for greater support from the EU to curb theft and corruption in its oil and gas sector. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has departed France for London to attend the donor conference to raise funds for the over 12.2 million people caught in the Syria crisis. Speaking to Channels Television on the president's itinerary, the acting High Commissioner of Nigeria to the United Kingdom says that the president will also meet with Nigerian citizens in the UK to discuss developments at home. Mr. Oga added that Nigeria has some lessons to learn from the Syria donor conference, which is attracting world leaders to London tomorrow. State House correspondent Chukwuma Onugasi reports.
The president comes into London from France after addressing the European Parliament on his effort to combat terror in Nigeria. The acting High Commissioner and other Nigerian officials were on hand to receive him and his entourage. A brief airport ceremony and the presidential convoy heads straight to prepare for what brought him here. The president is here for two reasons: to attend the Syria donor conference as well as interact with Nigerian citizens in the UK. And he's going to do all that from the Abuja House in central London. Back home, the president receives a barrage of criticisms from people who say that he is traveling a lot. Some even question what Nigeria has to gain from the Supporting Syria conference. But the Nigerian acting High Commissioner tells me that Nigeria is not an island. He looks at the Boko Haram terrorist situation and says there may be one or two lessons to learn from the Supporting Syria conference.
The way the world is now, with globalization and everything, what affects your neighbor, it affects you indirectly. You may not see it that way, but it is very important to us because of the security challenges we are having in Nigeria with Boko Haram too. There will be a lesson or two to learn from this conference.
And Nigerians will be expecting to see how their president will begin to release those lessons learnt from other world leaders who will be in the same conference with him, and how those lessons will help to check the excesses of Boko Haram, who he says are for now an embarrassment to his administration. Chukwuma Onwekusi, Channels Television News.
For 10 years, the main abattoir in Makurdi, the Benue state capital, has operated without slaughter slabs or portable water. This has raised concerns about the imminent threat to the health of beef consumers. Our community report tonight examines meat processing in the Wurukum abattoir, and would like to warn that some of the pictures you may find disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised.
If you reside in Makurdi, Benue State in the Middle Belt region of Nigeria and have been involved in the consumption of meat for the last 10 years, this information may be of interest to you. That is because right under the River Benue Bridge is the Wurukum abattoir, where animals are slaughtered under unhygienic circumstances. Cows, goats, and pigs are the regulars here. This animal is not protesting imminent slaughter, but would prefer to go under more hygienic conditions. The butchers operate without slabs, cutting the animals on bare floors, sometimes spreading the animal's skin as a carpet. The The lack of proper water system leaves the butchers with no option than to use any means available to clean the animals after cutting them up. Those who can stomach patronizing the market say they do so to maximize profit.
If you buy meat in the market, there's no game. But here, if you buy, you can get more than that.
Like I buy, I get small profit inside. If I buy 2,000 naira, I will sell like 3,000 naira. I will get 1,000 naira.
But how safe can the meat in this environment be? This inspector says there is a constant watch to ensure the meat is harmless.
The meat is very fit for human consumption because anything that is bad, we will remove it. How will we do that? We will know because it's our work, we are trained. We know the region where we can open. If we are here, we will first check them before they slaughter them. So anyone that will look sick, we will pay more attention to it. And that is it. So, and if they open it, if you are used to it, so you know the normal and abnormal. So it's not a difficult work.
The butchers say they do not wish to operate in this manner, but lack of support from the authorities in times past leaves them without much choice.
Actually, we have written a lot of letters in respect of improving the condition of our abattoir, and actually nothing reasonable has been done yet. The little one we have been seeing, maintenance is some of the maintenance are carried out by those of us operating here.
Most of people don't used to come and buy meat because of the hygienic distancing. So if happen they can be able to give us borehole, everything will be neat. They will be patronizing us.
The governor of Benue State assures of a plan to ensure the abattoir is revamped to meet adequate health standards.
I want to assure you that I will go around and see things for myself with the Commissioner of Health and Commissioner for Environment, and we shall address it immediately. This critical time in our history, we cannot take things for granted, especially on health issues. We must try to avoid those things that can make our people vulnerable.
A laudable commitment from the authorities, which should be addressed sooner than later. Until then, however, consumers have no choice but to eat in hope.
Now you're talking.
The people and government of Imo State are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the state's creation. Songs of praise and prayers were offered at a special service at the Imo International Conference Center in Owerri, the state capital. Governor Rochas Okorocha affirmed his commitment to improving socio-economic conditions of the people and the state.
Imo is not a fool at 40. Because the Lord says a fool at 40 is a fool forever. At 40, and as your governor, I'm not satisfied. Not satisfied because of lack of infrastructure development. But I'm not satisfied because Imo is not doing better. But I'm not satisfied. For as long as our children and as long as our youth in their numerous numbers are still out there without jobs. Just to get his people rights. Let's make them think about future generation and not about itself.
Governor Rochas Okorocha of Imo State. In the meantime, residents of Ogwata and Anambra East local government areas can heave a sigh of relief as they now have access to clean water. The Anambra State government, in collaboration with the European Union and UNICEF, have created solar-powered boreholes. 27 communities in the 2 local council areas are expected to benefit from this project.
It's a busy period for Governor Willie Obiano of Anambra State in southeast Nigeria, with many infrastructure projects across the state being flagged off, on the verge of completion or waiting to be commissioned.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
With that in mind, Governor Obiano wastes no time as he moves to activate 15 boreholes to serve different communities in Agwata and Anambra East local council areas. This is in addition to the 15 other boreholes, all dug in 27 communities around the local councils. The solar-powered boreholes are being constructed under the Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Program, courtesy of the Anambra State Government, in partnership with the European Union and UNICEF.
Anambra State is the only government that has fully contributed their contribution of 204 million naira for this project.
Governor Obiano assured all other residents that this project will surely get to their area.
This 15 we've done already is one borehole to about 20,000 people. And we're doing additional 15 in Agwata again, making it 30. So that will reduce it to one borehole to 10,000 people.
At Nando, in Anambra East local government area, a second symbolic commissioning of water, sanitation and hygiene facilities took place, which also activated the other 11 sites for the people's use. While the representative of the European Union did not join the governor in his dance, he did remind him of the need to establish Anambra State's small town water and sanitation agency to sustain the projects.
The Anambra State Rural Water, Small Town Water and Sanitation Agency needs to be created because we need to develop a structure that will ensure functionality of all these schemes.
Hope has indeed come alive in these communities as they appreciate the gesture to give them access to safe drinking water and good sanitation facilities, projects which will go a long way in reducing communicable diseases, especially in the rural areas.
The current outbreak of bird flu has spread to Nasarawa State with over 25,000 birds infected in Janisha Farm in Akwanga local government area. The State Commissioner for Agriculture and Water Resources, Lawi Yusuf, while confirming the incident in Lafia, notes that 6,000 additional birds died of natural causes. Mr. Yusuf affirms state authorities are intensifying efforts to contain the outbreak through community sensitization on the dangers of the disease. Time now for business news on the news at 10 with Melinda Kinlami.
You first. First Bank.
Welcome to Business News. I'm Melinda Akinlami. The Ondo State Governor, Olusegun Mimiko, has presented a total budget estimate of 118.99 billion naira to the State House of Assembly. He told lawmakers that prudence was the watchword when preparing the budget, and the need to generate more revenue has also been factored in.
The sum of 118.9 billion has been modeled as revenue for 2016 from the following sources. Statutory allocation, 27 billion. Independent revenue, 20.668 billion. Value-added tax of 8.6 billion. Secured facility of 14.967 billion. Mineral derivation fund of 14 billion. Grant credits from development partners of 4 billion. Refund from federal government as expenditure of Ondo State government to be refunded. We are envisaging 2.5 billion. Loans and leases of 35.225 billion. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me reiterate at this juncture the need to reduce economically insignificant activities and wastages to barest minimum and focus keenly on revenue generating activities.
Governor of Ondo State, Olusegun Mimiko. President Muhammadu Buhari's shuttle diplomacy continues this week as he moves from the European Parliament meeting in France to another conference in London. Last week, the president was in Kenya discussing the challenges of terrorism, bilateral trade, amongst other issues. Jill Malandrino from VOA News for Channels Television looks at some of these issues in this next report.
President Buhari was accompanied by more than 36 business leaders and investors during his 3-day visit with President Kenyatta in Nairobi last week. Many interesting developments evolved as a result, including a pledge that the two countries will cooperate at multilateral and bilateral fronts to eliminate terrorism, which is key to social and economic progress not only for Nigeria and Kenya, but for the continent as a whole. The key news on the business front is delegates from both Nigeria and Kenya discuss the possibility of a duty-free zone for the importing and exporting of goods between the regions in an effort to increase trade volumes. Industry leaders said this type of agreement would incentivize the business communities to do much better. Presidents Buhari and Kenyatta want to prioritize the industries of agriculture, manufacturing, and infrastructure improvement as the region looks beyond oil dependency. Central bank monetary policy shifts impact currencies and trade across the globe. Last Friday, the Bank of Japan moved to a negative interest rate environment, which in turn shook up global currency markets. Recall South Africa devalued the rand in early January. For better or worse, central bank rhetoric deeply impacts the markets, and it seems as if bankers are testing the waters to gauge the financial community's reaction to the suggestion of rate increases and decreases. Let's isolate Nigeria, for example, the continent's largest economy. The central bank has restricted access to dollars in an attempt to slow the flight of hard currency out of the country and to prop up the local currency, the naira. For countries like Nigeria, which import a lot of their food and refined fuel, this has created serious challenges as importers buy in dollars and sell in naira, meaning they get less for their money or they have to charge consumers more. Many analysts and traders in Nigeria do not see the central bank making a move to devalue, which further exacerbates the situation. President Buhari has made it clear he won't let the naira be devalued, which essentially undermines the central bank's sovereignty, as he believes the Nigerian economy will improve on its own following the collapse in oil prices. The central bank will hold a meeting with foreign exchange officers from commercial lenders on February 4th in Lagos, and we will certainly report back on the language used there.
Midweek trading at the Nigerian stock market saw profit-taking, putting pressure on consumer, banking and industrial goods. Here's Temple Ashaju with the summary of the activities.
Thank you for joining in and welcome to Stock Market Report. The excitement over the marginal gain at the equities markets was short-lived at the midweek session as the key index shed 0.96% to close at 23,605.89. The appreciation of high-cap stocks like Seplat, Guinness and Flour Mill did not prevent the negative outcome. Seplat closed at 236 naira 9 kobo. Guinness was at 116 naira 76 kobo and Flour Mill at 19 naira 88 kobo. On the decliners table, Nigerian breweries topped and closed at 96 naira 9 kobo. Unilever and Guarantee Trust Bank were also in that category, closing at 31 naira 81 kobo and 15 naira 31 kobo. On the activity chart, bank stock filled the top three positions, led by Wema Bank, Guarantee Trust Bank, and Zenith Bank. At the sound of the closing gong, investors exchanged over 1 billion shares for 2.5 billion naira in 3,803 deals. And that's it on Stock Market Report. I'm Temple Ashaju.
Many thanks, Temple. Now, most indicators across the emerging and frontier markets settled in the green zone on Wednesday, but let's quickly take a look at those numbers. That's business news. Many thanks for watching. The news at 10 continues with Gimba.
You first. First Bank.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's table tennis star Aruna Quadri climbs from 59th to 35th position on the latest world rankings released by the ITTF. That's on Sports News. Do join us again.